Hi, this is Ethann Fox, and welcome to another episode of Awake and Empowered TV. Today's episode is a little bit different than the usual. We have a compilation of clips from our previous expos put together in a way that we hope you'll find beneficial and inspirational to your life. And I also wanted to let you know that we have our next expo coming up in March, March 18th, 19th, and 20th of 2016 at the Westin Book Cadillac in Detroit, downtown Detroit. The Westin is a restored historical hotel from the early 1900s. It's really quite beautiful inside. We have an incredible lineup of presenters planned for you. Tickets are now for sale, so please go to our website, aaeexpo.com or awakeandempoweredexpo.com, and purchase your tickets before they run out. We have limited seating at this event, and we hope we'll see you there in person. This series has an incredible lineup from our previous expos. You don't want to miss too many people to name here, so I'm going to just let you watch and experience and enjoy it for yourself, and I'll see you on the other side.
Greetings and blessings. We are prepared to begin. So we want to start by saying that we are very pleased to have assembled in this collective union of souls, and this is a consciousness that we would call ninth dimensional, although there is one we would like to share with you named St. Thomas, who steps forward now. And as a being of light, we are assembling with others in this time to raise vibration and to assist in a shift of planetary ascension, and we are very pleased to do so. So we would like to start with a message today, and that message is one of love, and the love of the resonant energy that you hold within the heart chakra. It is important in this time that we start with this lesson for many reasons. We would like you to be aware that in the present moment, there is a shift of vibration upon your planet that is still in an integral process, meaning there has been a recent adjustment of your planetary space. That adjustment has been one that has fallen in line with an Akashic record that is to raise the vibration of the human field in order to merge and form a one human consciousness. You may ask, why is this one human consciousness so important? And that is the information that we are pleased to give you, as it is directly related to the love resonant energy we speak of. Now, the love resonant energy of the heart chakra is a systematic tool that we would like you to be very aware of as light workers in this time. As a one human consciousness, there was what we would call a disassembly of your race. So think of it this way, my friends. Upon your birth upon this planet, not in this current incarnation, but as a human race, you were constructed as beings of light. Beings of light with an energetic field that is connected to one another. This was purposeful, you see. Not only for your collective consciousness, but for the entire universal collective. Now, we ask you to understand that this one consciousness of the human race, as forged through the chakra field, is also intimately connected to the energies of your living, breathing planetary space. This Mother Earth Gaia planet that you are a part of is one with who you are. It is also undergoing an ascension process. Many of you feel as if an ascension process is unique and singular to your own being, and yes, in fact, your soul is undergoing an ascension process that is unique to your being as well. But know, my friends, that it is all connected as one. And the ascension process that we speak of now is one having to do with your collective race. And as light workers in this, there is a field of energy and a field of potential that we know that you are engaging now through this new planetary energy. And it is a resonance of the heart chakra.
For us, this is a great adventure, and for those of you who don't know what the Awake and Empowered Expo or our parent organization Flower of Life is about, I want to speak about that for a few minutes. A lot of you might attend conferences like this, or even present at conferences like this, and we're not really trying to just make a conference or an expo or a fancy trade show. We're really trying to change the fabric of society and the community. And this expo is just one manifestation, really the most outer manifestation of that the public actually is able to see. But behind the scenes, we're doing a lot of work that we plan to incorporate into our events as we go forward. So we're working in various activism movements around the world. We are also, one of our side projects right now is we're launching an educational program for children K through 12, an alternative school. And some of the kids who are in our evening program are here this weekend to experience some of the presenters as well. So our plan is within the next 1.5 to 2 years to launch a physical school with an entirely different curriculum. So what you see here at this expo is just one manifestation of the work that we're doing. Ultimately, this expo and everything that we do is really, we see it as the manifestation of the awakening of consciousness is taking place in the world in all of its elements, from science to technology to health, longevity, alternative healing modalities, and nutrition and health. There is so much incredible going on in the world. And if you are, which I imagine if you're here, you're probably not the kind of person who pays too much attention to mainstream media. But if you pay attention to mainstream media, you're missing all of that. You don't know what's really happening in the world. That's just absolutely amazing. And some of our presenters we have this weekend are going to be speaking about those subjects. And one of the challenges that we've experienced as an organization is that the world is not quite ready for us. And we're not just an expo, like I said. We're really trying to change a lot of things in the community. And the world is really not quite ready for that. And so being pioneers in this movement, it's a bit of a challenge to pull all this together and to make it happen. And the amazing team that is behind the scenes making it happen. And so this group has worked tirelessly for the last 6 months, and a lot of them have been on the previous expo team, and they've worked for the last 2 years to pull together these first 2 events that we've created. And as you can see, even to get people to be ready for that is just an amazing thing. So, but we're going to still be here, and we're going to be here until this movement catches hold. So this is just the first of many. And we hope with your help that we can reshape our community and reshape the world. So we're trying to bring this kind of information to the public from people who are at the leading edge of their field, who know this material, and present it in a rational, level-headed way so that you can improve your lives.
This is a great time. I mean, the fight is on. I mean, really, if you look at what they're trying to do with mandating vaccinations and with the flu, they're going full blown on their side right now. I mean, you have more chemtrails being sprayed, you have more glyphosate being used, you have more GMOs. Most people don't know they just approved a GMO potato and a GMO apple like 3 weeks ago. You know, so they're going full blast on their level, but we're also going full blast on our level. And so it's you know, the positive and the negative is there. I'm more excited than ever. I mean, you can actually see it happening. You can see the YouTube videos out there. You can see all the people starting blogs. You can see, I mean, just a massive amount of people that are waking up and that are, you know, learning about their body and that are teaching their children about their body. So I think it's a great time right now. And people that are actually standing up for the cause. I mean, look at the March Against Monsanto. Look at, we're making a difference. I mean, look, 7 years ago, when there was only Whole Foods and all the other supermarkets out there refused to carry organic food, now you can go to Kroger, you can go to H-E-B, you can go to any supermarket and find organic food. Now you have a farmer's market in every single city in the United States. That just happened in the last, 6 or 7 years. Now you have fluoride being taken out of water. Absolutely. I mean, we're making good progress. It's actually fun to be a part of.
There's a book called Power versus Force. If you haven't read it, put it on your list. The book contains the results of millions of tests conducted on thousands of subjects over a period of 20 years. This testing is proved to be replicable and so meets the basic requirements of scientific inquiry. Using kinesiology testing, the author has created a map of human consciousness and a profile of the human condition. The test space was the totality of human experience throughout all time. Wow. He developed a logarithmic scale of consciousness against which things can be calibrated, with 1 being the lowest possible state of consciousness and 1,000 representing the highest possible state of human consciousness achievable. Don't get caught up in the numbers, just understand it's a scale of 1 to 1,000. So, what's this all about? Well, what he came up with was that below 200, society relies on force rather than power. Okay, this is the tipping point of the scale. So what we know is that the latest calibrations we were able to find, those statistics say that 78% of the population is at 200 or less on the Hawkins scale, on this map of human consciousness. Now, this would be really devastating for the collective and for humanity if it weren't for the fact that this is the scale of consciousness is logarithmic, and so each incremental point represents a giant leap in power. As such, one person calibrated at 600 counterbalances the negativity of 10 million people below 200. Okay, I bring this up and I talk about this all the time because if you have forgotten that you have the ability to make a difference in this life, this is proving it to you. It takes you, and it's not based on anybody around you, and it's not based on any of this stuff. We make a difference. One person, Further up the scale, enlightened at 700 counterbalances 70 million people below 200. My friends, you know, let's take them kicking and screaming into wherever we're all headed with this, because they don't know what they're doing. We can shift that. We can make the difference. Teach your children that it doesn't have to be the entire collective or their entire group of friends, that they hold the power within them to shift for so many people. When we look at this scale, we've got over 200, we've got neutrality comes in at 250, then willingness, acceptance, reason, love, peace, or joy, peace, and enlightenment. Okay? Below 200, we have pride, anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, shame. Use this just as a way to gauge where you're at. Are you in a place of pride? You know, is that ego? Is that part of force? And isn't neutrality a little bit better place to be? And then move on up the scale. The second great barrier is the level 500, which is love. And love in this context is a way of being in the world, not an emotionality as most of us perceive it. According to Dr. Hawkins, the reason the level of love is so difficult to achieve is because our ego is so rooted in the physical domain as opposed to the spiritual domain, which emerges at 500. The 400s represent the level of reason, guided by the linear, mechanistic world of form, our modern society that includes advancements in medicine, science, advancements in government, please, etc. Interestingly, the top echelon of intellectual genius, including Einstein, Freud, Newton, Aristotle, all calibrated around 499. They just couldn't break through the 500 barrier. They did great things for us. Couldn't get into love. The 500s represent a very difficult hurdle, as only 4% of the world's population calibrates in the 500s. This level denotes a shift from the linear, provable domain, classic physics or Newtonian physics, to the nonlinear, formless, spiritual domain. Okay, this is powerful information. If you haven't read the book, read it. If you've got friends that just think that no one makes a difference in this world, give them this book, have conversations with them. There's a lot of waking up we can do to help people. Let's just look at this. This is kind of a fun slide. Media consciousness levels. NFL football comes in at 82. Okay. I mean, I hope none of you are NFL football fans. But if you are, maybe this will tweak you a little bit. Everybody Loves Raymond also comes in at 82. So throw that at your football fan and see how they react to it. What else looks interesting in this list? What the Bleep? Do you know that film? What the Bleep Do We Know? Came out of Portland years ago. Awesome film. Comes in at 817. That's enlightenment level. Okay? So if you want something to assist someone on their journey, let's not watch football with them or Everybody Loves Raymond. Let's sit and watch What the Bleep with them and give them something that's really feeding them and their experience and what is available this time around. And that excites me.
Those of us that are awake, you continue to become more awake as you see the things that are going on behind the scenes. So what I would encourage you to do is to, if you are awake, which you are because you're here, is to find something that you can do that can empower you to help wake up the world. Because that was my goal. My goal was not to sell a bunch of books and sell a bunch of DVDs and provide for my family by doing this. I never dreamed of doing that. I was making a tremendous salary as the head of a CPA firm in Dallas. I never got involved with this to make money, ever. I felt like I had to share this message with the world because they were being duped. And so you can't get into something because you want to make money doing it. That can't be your primary motivation because it will never satisfy. The motivation that has to be that it's a passion of yours. And so I would just encourage you to find something you're passionate about.
I found out that what I thought was everybody saw and was nothing to talk about was called an aura. So as soon as I realized that my gift was special, I started researching it and going to it, learning as much as I was like a sponge, learning to understand what I had been seeing all my life. And with that, learning that, it helped me help others. And for me, the more I knew, the more I could do to help other people. And for me, that was the most important thing in the world, is to help other people in using any tool that I had. So learning that what I called glowing was called an aura, and it seems special. But as our evolution goes, everybody will eventually see it as we grow.
I wasn't real happy about, first of all, playing music in front of people, and definitely not getting any woo-woo energy stuff. It was beyond my comfort zone. And I fought it. And I say, you know what, I just assume turn off this energy. I don't want nothing to do with energy stuff in my music. And literally within 5 minutes, my phone rings, and it's Dr. Jones. And he's like, what are you doing? I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, I just detected a quantum fluctuation in your field. And I'm like going, now I'm really freaked out. He goes, you need to come in and see me. So I sit down with him. He said, Mark, you have two choices in life. You either step into your gift and bring it forward to help humanity, or you live a life of frickin' misery trying to deny it. What would you rather do? I said, well, where's option 3? None of the above. That's literally what I said to him. I always liked in school, you always had the none of the above option. He said, sorry, it doesn't apply. I said, oh, damn, okay, well, I guess I got to step into it. So what I thought I would do is I would do kind of a demonstration. Okay, cool. What's your name? Chris. This is Chris. Everybody give her a hand. She has no idea what she's going to be doing. I'm kidding. Okay, so let me just get my music lined up here. All right. So we think of the body, right? Has energy field around it. We have certain components, certain properties when we operate in the physical realm, like balance and strength and all these key things. Important, right? To get from point A to point B. Got to have the vehicle working optimally. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a kinesiology test on balance. This is my favorite test. And I think Ethann's done it a lot for me, and some of you, I'm sure, have already seen it. We'll do it anyways, and we'll give you an experience of it. How does it sound? Great. Okay, put your feet and toes together all the way. And do you have bad back, shoulder, anything I need to know? Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to grab my hand. She looks a little scared up here. She's like going, man, that's the last time I ask a question. Don't worry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply downward pressure in your hand. I want you to stay stiff. Don't let me bend or tip you. Can you do that? So are you ready? Be strong. Okay, I thought you were going to be strong. Is that the best you can do? You want to try one more time? Okay, come on, just think positive. Say some mantras or something, positive affirmations. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
She's actually stronger, believe it or not. Ready? Be strong, but not strong enough. So what we're going to do is I'm going to repeat the test now with, you might not be able to hear it, but it's playing. Feet and toes together, grab my fist. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Be strong. So now what she doesn't know is I have the ability to read minds. And what she's thinking is, man, I just tightened my core. He was not going to bend me. I did the yoga thing, tightened my glutes up. There's no way he's going to tip me over. So we'll see if that's the case. Okay? You ready? Mm-hmm. Be strong. Come on. I expected more. So once again, we'll just repeat it one more time. Music's playing, feet and toes. Ready? Be strong. So now, instant shift in energy. How in the heck does that work? When I first saw this, I'm like going, come on, that's crazy. Let's give her a hand for asking the question and for being brave. Did you experience a difference?
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. I'll tell you all the secrets you want to know here in a little bit.
In the Vedas, we have this part called the Vastu Shastra, which is the art of construction. And this is where you can create a structure that will resonantly keep all of the bodies in check. And you go into these, this is actually a temple outside of Atlanta. So if you come to Atlanta, you'll be able to experience this. But there's a great resurgence of this type of architecture throughout the United States and India, where they're building these particular types of structure. And when you go into them and you stand under this great, I call it the crown chakra dome, you stand under there, you will feel a sonic realignment. You can't help it. It's the geometric grid that encompasses your whole being. And you will feel like a little buzzing in your head and a little tingling throughout your body. It's wonderful. I invite you to experience this. But this is how they did it back then. And the same way in the Chinese tradition, they have feng shui, which is the art of placement. And again, this is how to work with harmony, work with nature to keep the body not stressed. Coming down into the times of the Egyptians, they were, by 4000 BC, sound, light, and magnetics were inextricably linked. These are the temples that show us the evidence that they sought out these power spots on the earth, these magnetic vortexes, and then they created structures to harness sound and light. And people would go there, and these are the healing temples. And in the Greek times, we have the Asclepian temples. Asclepius, the god of music and medicine. And he's, the rod of Asclepius, which then the caduceus springs forth from that. You can take a Mediterranean cruise today and visit many of these old Asclepian sites. Again, they're built on power sources. Not all of them are fully constructed anymore. You will find them in ruins. But for those of you who are into dowsing or sensitive to energy, you will see that these are built on power spots, grid lines, harnessing magnetics, and in their original form, harnessing sound and light as well. And people would journey to these temples, maybe a day, 2 days, weeks, to get to the temple. And there the priests and the priestesses would record their experiences. Were they, how were their dreams? What are they feeling? So very much again into bringing all the bodies into a coherence. We come down through, this is the type of architecture that I was introduced to as a child. You see in this Gothic style cathedral where the buttresses are harnessing the sound. And there's no secret here, but as you would process up the aisle, this is actually in correlation with the Hindu system of the chakras. So you come into the first part of and this happens to be Chartres Cathedral, if any of you have been there. It's quite an amazing creation and great example of resonant architecture. So you're coming in and you're settling in, and as you process up the aisle to the altar and the very end of the beginning of the church on the other end, where you have all those beautiful stained glass windows, again using color therapy, you will see that they activate the different chakras and the sounds that are created as you process up that aisle. Really quite beautiful. In the Roslin Chapel, we see the evidence of cymatic images. And Roslin Chapel is outside of Edinburgh, Scotland. And in this chapel, there are 213 cubes that are carved into the ceiling. And they are embellished with symbols of musical notation. And these symbols represent melodies of spiritual significance from the 1500s. And this is how we learn, these systems that are passed down century after century, millennia after millennia, how did they know about the sound? They're creating these little cymatic signatures, and they're placing them in the actual architecture. There is a father-son musician team who have decoded the music to these cubes, and you can actually find it on the internet. It's called the Roslin Motet. It's quite beautiful.
In another pyramid in our neighborhood, 5 hours from here, the Gold Pyramid near Chicago. 1979, 1983, a businessman, general contractor, was building a pyramid, which was a replica of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, just 9 times smaller. 52 degrees, 4 sides, perfect orientation, east, west, north, south. When he was nearing the completion of the roof, which he covered by golden leaves, at that time worth $1 million, he could see that on his property, and he had clay underneath, clay which is supposed to be waterproof, he could see that the water was coming up. The moment he completed the pyramids, he had a huge artificial lake on his property. And it is still there. In 2002, he was doing remodeling, he removed the roof, the water level dropped for half. Once he put it back together, it came back together. Meaning that now we do have a pyramid power. The pyramid works as hydraulic pump.
They decided that there were three energies in the body, three primary energies of life. The first energy they called Jing. Jing is the accumulation and storage of all of that sunlight and held on the earth to make life. And it is a cellular mass of life, and it is that life's potential to reproduce. That is called Jing. So Jing takes in the reproductive essences and the essences of longevity and genetics. Now, Jing is associated with the kidneys. So the Chinese looked at the different organ meridians and they thought that they housed certain energies. So Jing is associated with kidneys. So kidneys are seen as a battery of our long-term, what we call epigenetic energy. So everything your great-grandparents were doing, eating, how they were living, everything your grandparents were doing, it's all embedded as a genetic memory in your kidneys. Your kidneys are a memory storage unit. Now, we look at the kidneys as if they're like a bank account, like a savings account. And so they're holding this essence, this gold vault of your family's bloodline's lineage and how your genetic inheritance has come to you, what they've done. So when a person has a lot of Jing, they're in control of their own destiny. They can't be pulled by the winds of happenstance. They're like, no, I know what I'm doing. And they have a strong constitution. They don't get sick as easy. If they get hurt, they heal quick. When they have children, their children are strong too. That's Jing. The human races in the past had a lot of Jing because we were living closer to nature. But by Rome in Europe, he started having people giving us refined carbohydrates and bad food. And so European people of that origin started having their Jing sort of hit way back. If you look at the African American races, the Middle Eastern races and all that, they seem more robust. The European races have many generations now, many years of refined foods and everything, and this has affected our overall Jing. You still see occasionally somebody very robust, and that's beautiful, and they have Jing because the world of EMFs and chemtrails and Monsanto and all this stuff is recent. So we all still have an epigenetic energy of people who live in our family who are still living on the land, out in the sun, picking their own blueberries, getting water from their creek, right? Building their own house. So that's why we're here. We have Jing. Now, if you look at the human race right now, we're seeing, and I believe Jing is a 4-generation issue, more acutely speaking. We're seeing people whose great-grandparents, 4 generations back or 3 generations back, were eating refined, fast food, right? Coca-Cola and all that stuff. And we see with them is we see children who just don't seem to have much Jing coming up in the world. I don't know what it's like around here, but like in Los Angeles, I see a lot. You see kids coming out of school like this. Man, when I came out of school, I was like bouncing all over the place, running crazy. And here we got these kids are already acting like old people, And that's no Jing, no Jing. The beautiful thing is that the Chinese found herbs that actually build Jing and restore Jing. The beautiful thing, and one of the things I love about being in this work is that we can actually help people restore that. And we have kids around us who don't seem to have that vitality. You say, hey, Billy, look at the stars. Right? No, we need to give them their Jing. So there are Chinese herbs that they found to give Jing. Let's see if I put this together right. Yes, I did. This just goes back. This picture is an illustration I did for my book, Raw Qi. that shows the sunlight going in and how it's formed in the body and all that. But so the Chinese were looking for substances, particularly the emperors, of the early dynasties. They were saying, I want to live forever, and I want to be vital, and I want to be able to, enjoy, the pleasures of life and everything. And they certainly were offered all that, and they wanted to partake of it. And so they said to their alchemists, hey, go find me stuff to give me a long, vital life.
I've realized what I should have realized a long time ago, right? That everything is in simplicity. Everything is usually right there. It's right in front of your face, but you just don't see it. Everything is just so simple. Why wouldn't it be so simple? God's not going to make everything hard. But if we look back from Christ to the 1600s, you have to kind of say, and this is kind of what we did. We wanted to say, all right, let's just do this. Because we're scientists and we want to really dive into this and find out what happened. The mission of science before the modern era, before pharmaceuticals, way before pharmaceuticals, was to gain an understanding of the natural order so that we can live in harmony with it, right? That's kind of what we're trying to do these days, is to gain an understanding of the natural order. But then you have the scientific revolution coming into play around 1643. And that's when the man-made science started to come in. Their philosophy was, or their mission statement, nature had to be bound into service and made a slave. She was to be put in constraint, and the aim of the scientist was to torture nature's secrets from her. Francis Bacon, The Turning Point. So you can see how instead of living in harmony with something, as men and as we started to come in and look at the scientific revolution and how we could profit off of it and how it ended up being all about money, how that changed. And the new mission statement of science to the present is to obtain knowledge that can be used to dominate and control nature. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And we're going to talk about how that's happening. So if you look at modern medicine versus natural medicine, modern medicine believes that an organism is controlled from inside the cell, that the genes control the organism. Then heredity passes the traits. It's called genetic determinism. The big scare, if your mom, your grandma has breast cancer, you're going to have breast cancer. Women are going in, they're getting double preventative mastectomies because they think that they're going to end up with breast cancer just because their mom or their grandma had breast cancer, which is really sad. And natural medicine is an organism is controlled from outside of the cell. The environment controls the organism, and that's really being in unison with nature. That's the genetic adaptation. Is what we're really all about, and that's actually been proven by Bruce Lipton. I'm sure you guys have read. He's one of the pioneers in disproving the gene theory of modern medicine. So, and this research right here is actually based off of Bruce Lipton stuff, because we didn't perform any of our own research. We just looked at whose was the best out there. And this is actually not that old either. But natural medicine, or what Bruce says, is that the genes get signals from outside the cell, and all commands and body functioning is determined by the energetic reading of the environment. And most of you guys in here anyway know that it's all about sound. It's all about vibrations. Every single thing that happens. Every nutrient, every herb resonates at a certain vibration. Sound is where it really manifests from, because sound creates light and sound vibrates at different frequencies. All commands and body function is determined by the energetic reading. The internal and external environment control the genes and the organism. So really, it works from the outside in, is how our bodies work and how our bodies adapt. So what you're exposed to in your external environment and what you're exposed to in your internal environment determines the pattern of your genes. Modern medicine obviously says that your genes get signals from inside the cell, and that all commands and body mechanics start in the nucleus of cells, and that genes control the organism, inside to outside.
It kind of is almost like we live in a matrix, kind of an alternate type reality when it comes to treatments for many diseases, specifically cancer today. You know, it just seems odd to me that we treat cancer with chemicals that cause cancer. That just doesn't seem right to me. It just, something doesn't resonate with me about that. And we'll get into that, and we'll get into a lot of other stuff today. I think by the time that the lecture's over today, you'll understand a lot more about why things are the way they are today in the medical system and with the education of doctors. So what I want to do really is primarily is to go back, and we're going to have a little bit of a history lesson. I like this graphic. I use this in my book called Monumental Myths of the Medical Mafia. And a lot of people don't understand that money is really what's driving a lot of decisions that are being made today in cancer and other diseases, and the choices of what treatments are used to treat those diseases. It really is about following the bottom line. I was just sharing out here with some friends of mine that there's a medical doctor that I'm good friends with that I went to college with, and he works down in Seguin, Texas, outside of San Antonio. And in his hospital, they were just going to force vaccinate everybody for the flu back in October. All the doctors, all the nurses, every worker, you work at this hospital, you must be vaccinated for the flu. Well, my friend Dr. Sani, who was in the Quest for the Cures, he said, no, I'm not going to do it. And they tried to force him, and he said, okay, you know what? If you want me to do that, I'm just going to take all my patients and go to another hospital. And he brings in several $1 million a year to the hospital, and so they said, okay, no problem, you're exempted, right? So money is what's driving a lot of these decisions. They realize at that point they're going to lose a lot of money if they make this doctor be vaccinated against his wishes, so they let him out. It wouldn't have been so fortunate for a lab tech or somebody else that had decided they didn't want to be injected with toxic poison, which we call the flu shot. And by the way, while we're talking about the flu shot, I don't even have anything about this in the lecture, but who's heard of the Cochrane collaboration of 2006? Cochrane collaboration was one of the largest, if not the largest, studies that's ever been done on the flu shot. They looked at the efficacy or the lack thereof of the flu shot, and they looked specifically in groups of young children and the elderly, because that's who it's pushed on most heartily, right? If you got children, get them the flu shot. If you're old, get the flu shot, right? It's a lot of propaganda that's pushed our way to force people to getting a flu shot. Cochrane collaboration in 2006 came out, and the results of this study, and we're talking about, they looked at over 260,000 children and elderly in this study, that the flu shot is 0% effective in children and 0% effective in the elderly. And that's the two largest groups that are pushed to get the flu shot each year. Side note, that's for free. So this is a document that's called Cancer Facts and Figures. This is from 2013, but there's actually one that's called Cancer Facts and Figures 2015. It's on the American Cancer Society website today. If you go there to acs.org, you can pull down this PDF. Can't quite read it up here, but what it says on the top section here, let me see if I can point to it here. There we go. Right here. 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women are going to face a cancer diagnosis in their lifetime. Bottom part here says that only 5% of cancers are genetically linked. Okay? This is on the ACS website. So what do you hear if you have cancer, you go to your doctor, bum luck, you got bad genes, right? I mean, it's all, we blame the genes. Well, even the ACS, not that they're this big bastion of truth or anything, but even on their own website, they mention 5% cancers have genetic link. The other 95%, what's the cause of these cancers? Not genetics. Same document? Yes, sir. Environmental toxicity, environmental pollution, chemicals, all these other things that make us sick and eventually can compromise the immune system, lead to cancer. Interesting that that's on the American Cancer Society website, but if you ask most oncologists, most medical doctors about the cancer explosion, they'll tell you cancer is genetic. But it doesn't make sense to me that cancer is genetic in light of the fact that 100 years ago, how many people were diagnosed with cancer compared to today? Like anywhere from 1 in 40 to 1 in 80 is the numbers that I've read for 1900. So you go from 1900, 1 in 40 to 1 in 80, whatever that might be in there. Very small percentage of people with cancer. to now 1 in 2, 1 in 3. Is it even possible that that's genetic? No. Genes don't change that quickly. Okay? We have micro changes in genetics over a long period of time, but not in 2 generations. Not to that extent. So we'll get to that. Worldwide cancer cases expected to soar by 70% over the next 20 years. I mean, it's not an exaggeration when we say that cancer is a pandemic. I mean, raise your hand if you don't know anyone with cancer. Say, I quit asking the question, raise your hand if you know someone, because the whole crowd would always raise their hand. Everybody knows somebody with cancer. You've probably lost a loved one or a friend or family to cancer.
In this ascension process, you are always regulating your vibrational stance to another. In essence, your human auric field was meant to connect as a whole being to Mother Earth Gaia and to the rest of your human collective. However, we would say, and we don't wish to put any of you in a state of fear, we just wish to explain to you where there has been a breakdown in this resonant energy. There have been many systems and structures placed upon your planet that has encapsulated this energy and blocked it from you as a human structure. Think of yourself as the embryo within that structure of the mother being, and how you came to take that first breath of oxygen with the air that is the energy you breathe. If that air had been restricted from you or had been blocked from you, life itself could not have taken place within your human structure. Essentially, my friends, that is what is happening here upon your planet. Your Mother Earth Gaia field has been compromised. And this is the first point we wish to make about this re-engagement of the heart chakra, is you need to understand that the natural energies that you are trying to adjust to have been changed. They have been blocked from you in essence, and we can go into much detail about what these sources are that are blocking this energy, but many of you would be familiar with them as toxins in your world, as air that has been compromised, as fields of electromagnetics that are not natural to the Mother Earth Gaia auric field. So what is happening here is that you were built with a structure that was meant to fall in line with the resonance of this mother being, just as the embryo or the child falls in line with the energetic flow of the mother. But since that is not in a resonant energy field of consistent rhythmic vibration, you're always trying to equalize that balance. You're always trying to fall into that balance. This is why your human race has fallen apart as a one consciousness. In essence, even the harmonic vibration of Mother Earth has fallen off the scales of what we had planned for your planet to achieve this ascension process or place in which you find yourself wishing to move to.
So after analyzing everything, we found that, these are just estimates. Everybody's different, right? I mean, that's why one diet doesn't work for every single person. I mean, you have to look at that person's environment. People are always like, hey, what's the perfect diet? Like, there is no perfect diet. Look at your environment where you live. It's going to be different up here in Michigan than it's going to be I'm going to have different herbs that grow naturally in my 2-mile area from where I live, and different plants that are going to grow in my environment than you're going to have up here. That's why all the times that we work with people and we recommend, we recommend go find a good natural healthcare practitioner or someone that knows in your area and let them work with you as far as establishing the best diet that's going to be for you. There are some general guidelines, for diet, eating organically, for example, and some other things. But we found that air, just put these on, okay? So right now, air, let's say you're going to get 200,000 toxins every single day. Food, 200,000 toxins coming in from food. And this is actually the majority of the population on the planet right now. Water, 200,000. Beverages, microbes, emotional stress, which causes excess cortisol, EMF damage, heavy metals, drugs, flu shots, etc., and block neurological feedback. So the whole disease, when we were trying to come up and actually write a disease mechanism, this is the root cause of all disease. This is the whole process that we analyze. We have tons of research behind each one of these, that we had to put together. But, you have to present it. I mean, you guys are, usually I'm talking to doctors or somebody that, some of this would just be like way out there, It's like, what? How could this be? But you guys, I mean, you probably already know this stuff. So we wanted to put it, though, in a way that everybody could understand it, even if there's an 8-year-old reading. Because, really, we need to teach the children, too, about this. So we found that on average, someone might be taking in like 2 million toxins every single day in their body. Well, then the next step was, okay, if someone's taking in 2 million toxins every single day, how many are they getting rid of every single day? Because obviously the body has elimination routes, right? Women have 5 elimination routes, men have 4 elimination routes. Women are going to have, you're both going to have respiration, and you're both going to have sweating, diaphoresis. Most of the time, respiration and sweating are open. That's 50% of your elimination routes right there for men are open at the same time. When you're doing excessive exercise, working outside, you're breathing heavily. If you look back in nature, any tribal culture, anything like that, they all worked, usually outside, and their heart rate got up, right? So they were breathing more heavily and they were sweating, so they were eliminating. But since late 70s, let's say, when computers started to come in, people started to go work indoors, more sedentary lifestyles, what happened is those elimination routes have been shut down. And then you have defecation and urination, okay, the next two. So the introduction of foods, bad waters, everything like that are constipating people, and people not drinking enough water, so they're not urinating enough. I mean, probably 90 out of 100 people that I talk to, probably more than that, 95 out of 100 people don't even drink water, or don't even drink a quarter of the water that they need to drink for their body. I mean, they wake up, coffee, tea, Diet Coke, blah, 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 all day long, and they go to bed. They don't even drink, and they go, well, I'm drinking water in my Diet Coke. No, you're not. So you have, what we found was that everybody's elimination routes were blocked. They weren't sweating enough, they weren't breathing enough, they weren't urinating enough, and they were constipated, they weren't going to the bathroom enough. And believe it or not, the medical system says you're constipated if you have less than 2 to 3 bowel movements a week. A week. Yes. So they think it's completely normal for you to have, a few bowel movements a week. But again, all you have to do is look at nature, look at the animals, and then they'll tell you really what's you're supposed to have. Animal, how many times does a bird go to the bathroom? A squirrel, a cow, a horse, Not your family pets, because family pets are all contaminated with the same diseases that the adults, that people have. Now, you see I see these obese dogs out there, and they're like straining, they can't even go to the bathroom. So the elimination routes we found are being blocked in everybody, and menses, women have the 5th one, right? So then we started saying, okay, well, every woman's menstrual cycle is perfect, right? Then we started seeing all kinds of problems. Women just PMS. If you have pains, PMS is not PMS. It's toxins in your body, and your body's hormone levels and everything are all thrown off. And you can't have, if you have endometriosis, all that stuff, it's just, all it is just toxic buildup. Your body is not able to get rid of all those toxins fast enough.
How are you doing? Good. You've grown up, man, since the last time I saw you.
I've gotten 2 years older.
I know. I don't know. You had the beard. I don't know. You look different, man. He's grown up. I'm so proud of this young man. I met him 2 years ago at the thing, so I think we did an interview together, too. So what we'll do is, everybody's got one of these, right? Do you have any chips on it or anything? No? Okay.
It's on airplane mode.
Okay. It is on airplane mode? I'll take it off airplane mode. We want the full effect. It's always on airplane mode, huh? All right, so we're good to go. So let's point the arm this way, face that way. I think we got enough room there. You're getting some texts or emails or something. It's buzzing. Either that or it really likes me. Okay, you ready? I want you to be strong when I push down. Ready? Be strong. Do not mess with this man either. So I can hold this in front of him. Ready? Be strong. Come on, man. Be strong. So once again, it challenges his energy. Well, I also discovered I guess it's been when did the iPhone 4S come out? It's been probably, 3 years or since 3 years. And so I energized my first phone 3 years ago. You actually get a full-on phone energy harmonization. Okay, you ready? Be strong. Strong as an ox, even with the phone in his field. Hold that in that hand, feet and toes together. Now we're going to do the other one, this one, all the way together. Down by your side, the balance test. Got a grip. Get a grip on there. Ready? Be strong. Phone. Ready? Be strong. Come on, man. There you go. Give him a hand.
So the toxins that you get from water, one thing. Then you have toxins from beverages, and that's going to be your colas, your juices, energy drinks, bottled beverages, refined sugar, artificial sweeteners, coffee, alcohol, tea, milk. Coffee's one of those things where there's a lot of good research on that, and I think really the damaging effects of coffee are more from because 80% of the coffee grounds are heavily sprayed with pesticides, because we do have some caffeinic receptors in our body, and caffeine was used dating back. It's been used as a natural therapy, just like tobacco has, back in ancient times in Egypt and everything else. So, what I've always said is anything in moderation, the body can handle. If you have a coffee every now and then or whatever, it's not that bad, your body can handle it. But it's constant daily bombardment of chemicals and toxins coming in on a regular basis. So when we're dealing with people out there, you have to realize also that the 99% of the population out there is very hard. Everybody's addicted to food. Food is more addictive than any drug. People are addicted to their diet drinks. People are addicted to all this stuff. So it's not like you can go in and just say, okay, we reactivate your body's self-healing mechanism, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to take everything out. No more coffee, no more diet, everything. What you have to do is you have to slowly replace things with natural options so they don't feel like they're losing it, but they're just doing it naturally, or reduce it slowly over a period of time. So the main goal is to, let's create an environment where you're going to breathe clean air. Let's create an environment where you're now going to drink pure, clean water. Let's create an environment now where you're going to start drinking beverages that are healthy for you. The milk, okay, most of your milk, everybody pretty much has an allergy to dairy anyway. So you're looking at the majority, not organic, but regular conventional. You have heavily vaccines use in cows, rendered food, hormones, pesticides. They're even fed cow blood, and then that's how you get your milk, conventional milk. Aspartame breaks down into methanol, which is wood alcohol, very highly acidic in the body, because a lot of this, all this toxic stuff just causes a very acidic environment, body environment. Converts to formaldehyde, accounts for over 75% of the adverse reactions reported to the FDA. Formaldehyde causes gradual and eventually severe damage to the neurological system, immune system, and causes permanent genetic damage at extremely low doses. I always think you can fix anything in the body. So I put permanent up there because that's what medical science is saying. If you look at it, it shows that it technically causes permanent damage. But, I've seen amazing things happen when people just go through and clean everything out. I'm always, the body can heal itself of anything. So reducing toxic beverages. You can take, okay, even they have organic colas at Whole Foods. You know, they even have organic sugar-free ones with stevia. Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, the thing is, it might take them a little bit, because all conventional foods are made with chemicals that cause addiction, by the way. They want you coming back. And that's why over 600, we did a study on tobacco, because I was challenged years ago, and they were saying, well, tobacco's bad. And I said, well, not really, because it does have healing effects to it, you know, but so we traced it back until they started spraying 628 chemicals on tobacco plants. Analyzed. You can type it in. 628. There was never any cancers. I'm not saying, you know, smoking is good for you or anything, but what I'm saying is it's labeling natural things as bad when they're not. What's so bad is the fact that they put 628 chemicals on it. That's what's causing the cancer, not the natural herb. So, so the herbal teas are great. You know, use those. We'll just have people, hey, switch over to our natural herbal teas. Drink the distilled, purified water with apple cider vinegar. Reduce toxic beverages and switch to like an organic hemp milk, coconut milk, almond milk, raw goat's milk. I mean, even raw cow's milk. I think raw goat's milk is still a lot better, but preferably switching over to any of those natural. A lot of times people mix like half hemp milk, half coconut milk, or half almond, half hemp. You know, you can mix them all together to get that flavor that you want too. And of course, juicing. I mean, I think everybody should have a juicer in their house and juice. What's really nice about juicing now is you really don't even have to juice. You can get suja juices from Whole Foods. You know, just go there on Monday, pick up a bunch of juices. It's still not as good as you being part and putting your energy and touching the actual food. Because that's another thing, which I don't have time to get into today, but actual becoming one with your food before you eat it or before you juice it.
Okay, I think you just wanted to put your head on my shoulder. Come on. Stiff like a boar. Come on, you can do it. Ready? Feet and toes together. Ready? Be strong. Is that it? That's all you can do? Come on, be strong.
How much stronger is she with power?
Well, the question is, I bet you we're probably going to see about the same. And I'll do another test with that in a second. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Be strong. Actually, she is a little bit stronger without it. So once again, shows how something like that compromises our energy. You can point, move that way over there. Point hand at me. Push up while I push down. Are you ready? Be strong. Do not mess with her. She's very strong. So we'll do it again. I'll just hold it in your field. Okay, ready? Be strong. Come on. Be strong. Okay, so we know this, right? This is not good stuff to drink if we want longevity and operate at an optimal level. So the energy stuff. Somebody asked me, how do you energize stuff? Well, you can, okay, hold that in that hand. You ready? We'll do that test too. Ready? Be strong. So now, I'm like, wait a second. How is it that she can be strong with something that's disharmonious in nature? So we'll do this. Ready? Be strong. Go ahead and hold it. Ready? Be strong, just as strong as she was before. Now, in applied kinesiology, the body knows that that's not good for it, right? It's going to go into a weakened state. So I discovered you can actually shift disharmonious energy producers and make them harmonious. So I'm like going, be in the world, but not of it. I'm like going, this is an amazing thing. You can actually shift energy on stuff. So let's give her a hand. Thank you very much.
What did you do?
She asked me what I did. I winked at it, and no, I sent an energy.
Now, we want to reiterate to you that even though we say this, your planetary energies are still a beautiful space that can be renewed. And just as human beings are able to tap into multi-dimensions, although they are not able to often hold them for long periods of time, your Mother Earth Gaia is also falling into that beautiful rhythmic pattern of nature at times as well. And can you tap into that nature for healing? Most certainly. Through natural sources, through springs, through fields that have been uncompromised, through trees that have been beautifully left untouched. We want to also incorporate the animals into this message and allow you to understand that the animals are one with the human consciousness. You do not classify them as human, but they are one on this planet with this resonant energy that we wish for you to understand and fall in line with as the heart chakra, as the center core. So many of you in this time are looking to Earth to heal and to Earth resonance to heal. And we want to point out some sources for you to both be aware of and to avoid when looking to Mother Earth as a source. Innately, she is the source and will be restored. And we will talk about that in a moment as to where that is headed. But the purest of pure, my friends, you must know, is tapped into energetically through your own senses. Meaning, you do not have to evaluate whether that stream, pond, field, or tree is purely energetically clean as a source for you to touch or tap into. You're able to shift it. You're able to balance to it and evaluate it, and it is all through your own intention. So we will give you an example of this. Let us say there is a spring, and it is a pure spring, and you wish to drink this spring water because you know it will be good as a resonant source of energy for your health. And you take your bucket to this spring and you fill it, and you contemplate now whether this has been genetically changed by toxins in your air, water, soil, even energetically through magnetic forces. We ask you to understand that in this time, most sources on the planet have been touched by a lower vibrational source. But through your own intentional prayer into this source, you are able to shift and modify the vibrational stance to a renewed sense of purity. All human beings have this capability, and it is through the heart chakra.
So how do you eliminate toxins from food? Eat raw as much as possible, fresh fruit, vegetables, raw seeds, organic, limiting meat intake. I mean, first of all, obviously, just go all organic if you can. There's organic, then there's locally grown, which is even better than organic, locally grown fresh organic, because like if you go to Whole Foods or something and get organic, it was all picked before it was ripe. So you can even go like way above that, and then go, if you have a fresh farmer's market or you have farms that you know of where usually those guys pick, at least in Houston, some of the farmers, they pick that morning early, and then they come to the farmer's market, and then you really get more nutrition from food.
Some of the benefits, I think, with a raw food diet, like I said, really, really high in nutrients. And I think that there's something that everyone can benefit from with including raw foods into their diet, as many as they can, very nutrient dense. And they offer a variety of nutrients that many people don't get on a daily basis. Our bodies are so connected, you know, our things don't operate in isolation. The organ system and glands, they all run together, they all influence each other. When one's out of line, it's going to affect other ones, and I think that it's really important to give us these nutrients to kind of work with one so that it can benefit the other.
You guys should possibly know that my family wanted to slightly abandon me when I went raw. Okay, so here I am like 2, 3, 4 years later, and my mother finally started to forgive me, right? So you have to understand my mother is very Lebanese. We're talking like super cultural, not eating her food at the dinner table was saying, I reject my culture, I reject my family, I reject everything that you've ever given to me. So she took it highly personal, and it became just such a hard struggle, especially since I was just like, I want you to love me, Mom, but I feel better, look, you don't have to spend $25,000 a year on me anymore. I'm here, I'm happy, I'm healthy. My dad, he was a lot easier to kind of pull over, because he was just like, oh, mangoes. Oh yeah, I ate those all the time when I was little. Why do you want to eat those? You know? My dad, he grew up in poverty. He had 18 brothers and sisters growing up, and to this day, only 8 of them live. So in Ecuador back then, lives were worth pennies. Many of them were shot, killed. And so when I told my dad that I was eating a fruit and veggie diet, his first thought was very interesting. He was like, but mijita, that's poor people food. And I was like, no, Dad, that's health people food. You know, and he was explaining to me the difference that, you know, when you walk outside in Ecuador and Mexico and Costa Rica, mangoes are just falling off the trees. Fruits and vegetables are just growing out of the gardens like everywhere. People want to eat the expensive things that rich people eat, which would be like steaks, meat, potatoes, things that are unhealthy. But then when you actually go and you look at the statistics of who's healthy and who's not healthy in third world countries, most of the poor people are actually healthier than some of the wealthier people that live in these countries. And it's crazy statistics. But the second that I told my dad that times have changed and fruit was cool, he's like, oh, okay, make me a smoothie. You know, like, it was very quick snap for him. My mother, actually, I think it was probably one of the biggest blessings in my life, because my mother is now closer to me than anybody else. And she's opened up, she does juices and smoothies, and she loves it. She's lost like 20 pounds, and she looks fabulous. So
now I have some friends who are energy sensitive and light workers and that, but in the beginning, all my friends were very conventional, and so I told them about this stuff, and they thought I was strange, you know. And I remember one of them actually told me that I should stop meditating, you know, because it was something that people think sometimes that Buddhist monks go up on top of temples and just meditate all day, right? But really, a meditation is a unique practice that anybody can do. You know, you can be staring at the lines on the road and meditating. I mean, there's no one way to do it. You know, whatever is comfortable for you, just relaxing and letting go. That's one of the big keys is surrendering. You know, because emotional pain comes from resistance. Right? So when you stop resisting, then you just experience, you're in the now. You know, because past, present, and future are all the same. You know, it's all one. Right? So if you experience it as oneness, and you live constantly in the moment without really going on, you know, worrying about what's happening and what I should be doing. I should be paying bills. I should be doing. And those are things we have to worry about, right? Because we're still in, 3D society. But the more that we let go of those things, the more that those things automatically come, right? So when you let go, you're always going to be in a vibrational state of acceptance, and you're going to attract the things in your life that you need.
Anyway, so Om is a very powerful mantra, and the yantra, the sacred geometry of Om, that sacred geometry of sound, Om, resonates with our solar system. And I want to share with you here that when that Om pierces the silence and all of the universe comes into being, it is naturally in the mathematical and musical ratio. And the golden mean, which we find in architecture and sacred geometry and beautiful art. And here you also see the cosmos. And through our space system, the NASA system, we're able to hear every planet and even many of our stars.
So, okay, so we are humans, this vehicle that you inhabit is, as a spirit, having an earthly experience, is a composite of at least 12 ET races. This is what it's come down to. That your DNA comes from your ET forefathers, in a sense. And so that we are all different mixtures of those races. And that this thing that you call Earth, and with humans on it, is a grand experiment. And the experiment is all about taking at least 12 and possibly more ET races as they are growing and we're being invaded constantly and so on and so forth. But basically getting them embodied in a vehicle and then putting us all together on Earth and seeing if we can get along. Now, so far the experiment has not been going really well. No. Because people are always killing each other. But please understand that there's this whole way of thinking about yourself as a human that tells you that you're not good enough, that you need to go to authorities to tell you what to do and what not to do and how to think, that you're much dumber than you look, et cetera, and that this is a programming, okay? And so if you understand or begin to grok the idea that you are a composite of 12 ET races, and you understand that those ETs have, as is documented by testimony of abductees and contactees, et cetera, have all these amazing skills and these brilliant minds and these wonderful, you know, toys that they fly around the multiverse in, and so on and so forth. Please understand that that's your DNA, so that you have all those capabilities in different amounts and different varying, you know, but you basically have those gifts. And therefore that this vehicle that we call human is the best that they came up with so far. In other words, to make a composite being that would then put together those various races. And this is what goes on in this thing we call the multiverse. In other words, creator once, and all the sort of sub-creators, and you yourself are a creator in training, what they want to do is create beings like themselves and various renditions, such as animals of different kinds and so on and so forth. But basically, living beings to then create, become creators themselves. So it's a journey. And you can appreciate that you yourself can get to the point of evolvement, that humans may one day want to create a being that is a composite of their DNA, and that is more than even the children that you're having now. So this is the kind of thing we're talking about that's going on.
Well, my friends, many human beings would like to say there are extraterrestrials walking the earth. And we want to define that for you from our perspective, because in essence, there is a vibration that you hold upon this planet, and that vibration that you hold is a transient fourth dimensional reality. Many what you would call extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings would not be able to comfortably reside in this dimensional energy, as it would be one of disconnection to their inner core of being. Now, you must understand that as your planet is ascending to a fifth dimensional energy, the entire universal collective is ascending along with it. And dimensional energies are shifting and changing. There are often portal accesses upon your planet that are engaged through planetary alignment. And when these energies are aligned, there is an access to higher dimension through a stargate that is opened, or a portal that is opened, that allows these beings to access your planet quite comfortably. So know that yes, there are extraterrestrial beings that come through these portal accesses at various times upon your planet where the energies have been raised. Now, we want to also address this from the human side of third dimension, as there have been many human beings that have visioned or accessed communication with interdimensional beings. And we would say, instead of understanding that those interdimensional beings perhaps landed here or walked the planet along with this human being, the human being himself is actually stepping into an alternate dimensional reality with its energy body, which enables that human being to be able to see, speak, and feel the presence of that interdimensional being. Now, the third point we wish to make here is that there are many human beings that hold the genetics of extraterrestrial beings, because as we had mentioned previously, your soul has transitioned through many dimensional realities, and you hold many different vibrations and a variety of DNA genetic strands that have come from multidimensional races. And in essence, there was a dimensional seeding of the human race that started with many extraterrestrial races converging upon this planet to create what you now see, even though, my friends, we would say the ascension timeline here has been quite skewed by a lower vibrational stance or a lower vibrational consciousness, we would say. But interdimensional and extra-dimensional beings do have access to this planet. The access is coming at specific times where there is an alignment of energies with ancient sites or portal stargates that allows communication and allows visitation. But as a human being, if you are accessing that visitation or that communication through your energy field, you must know that you have raised your vibration into an ulterior dimensional reality in order to receive it.
We go more to the south, about 600 miles, a former Nubian kingdom, today's northern Sudan, 224 pyramids. This one being different, the slope is about 70 degrees. Now, to the northern side of Africa, the island of Sicily, 43 pyramids, 4 sides, plateau on the top, volcanic stone, cornerstones nicely shaped. Officially, we don't know who built them, when, and why. We go to the western side of Africa, the Canary Island. The biggest one is Tenerife, dozens of pyramids. And again, 4-sided structures, plateaus on the top. Again, the volcanic stone. The cornerstones nicely shaped. The height of the steps the same. When you climb the stairway on this western side, during the most important day for the ancient civilizations, the summer solstice, June 21st, the sun would be rising exactly here, in the middle of the plateau, meaning this eastern side is matching the east side and sun at the summer solstice. When I was at La Laguna University on the island of Tenerife, I spoke to their professors. I asked them if they visited the pyramids in the town of Guimar. They said, well, yes, we were there, but according to our Spanish scientific community, they are not pyramids, but pile of rocks made by local farmers when they were doing their agriculture. I said, they are not pile of rocks. They are perfectly planned and executed pyramids. They stopped talking to me because I was contradicting their Spanish scientific community. They did not come to my lecture, but I had 250 students who wanted to know the truth. What is the problem with the Spanish? The problem is, those pyramids were built by the culture named Guanche. 500 years ago, when the Spaniards were sailing to the west, Meso and South America, to conquer those parts, the first they found were Canary Island and Guanche. Now, Guanche were very developed. They were building their stone cities, temples, pyramids, irrigation canals. But they did not have military. They were on the island, no enemies. The Spanish wiped them off from the surface of the planet within a few decades. And now they want to hide their barbaric acts by saying, no, Guanches were primitive. They were not able to build pyramids or the cities. So they falsified their history. We go to the other side of Africa, the island of Mauritius, 2,000 miles away from the African continent. Today, it is in sugarcane fields, 13 feet high. But once you go through those dense fields, then you can see those stone structures. You climb the top of one of them, and in front of you, beautiful view of the stone pyramids. Again, 4-sided structures, plateaus on the top, volcanic stone, the same height and the same width of the structures. This side perfectly match east. And the summer solstice, since Mauritius is on the southern hemisphere, instead of 21st June, it is 21st of December. There are 7 structures like this one here. So, when I did my measurements, I prepared the report, I sent it to the government of Mauritius and suggested that we investigate them. Because right now, in encyclopedias, Wikipedia, or wherever, not a single word about those pyramids. And this is what they told me. Mr. Osmanagich, we do not have pyramids. That what you're referring to is just a pile of rock made by local farmers hundreds of years ago while de-rocking the area to plant the sugarcane fields. So, who to believe? Government or our own eyes? While I was there, I had a press conference and I gave them presentation about the pyramids. And next day, the biggest newspaper, L'Express, had a big article saying the smart Bosnian wants to reinvent our history. He claims that we have pyramids and we know very well that we don't have them. The Mayan civilization on the territories of today's Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Belize built almost 100,000 pyramids. And more than 95% are still covered by soil, vegetation, jungle. This one tends to be considered the biggest one, 94 meters, 330 feet high pyramid in the Mayan city of Tikal, in the northern Guatemalan province of Petén. However, 12 years ago, a new Mayan city was discovered more to the north, close to the Mexican border. And this is their biggest pyramid, in the city of El Mirador, completely covered by forest. If cleared, it should look like this. Just under those 2 pyramids, almost half of the Tikal you could place. And Tikal was considered the biggest Mayan city, which was home for more than 150,000 people. What do we know about the civilization if more than 95% of the cities, towns, pyramids, temples are still hidden in the jungle? The Mayan city of Palenque in the Mexican state of Chiapas today has 25 cleared pyramids, but originally they had 1,519. To our left is actually their biggest pyramid. Not only the biggest, but the oldest. They teach us in schools about the evolutionary progress. First we were primitive, and then we were developing our engineering skills. Well, not here. The biggest are the oldest and the most superior. Those that they came later, they are getting smaller. And that's the reason why the Mexican government does not have any intention to clear this pyramid, because it would change their view of the Mayan civilization. El Salvador, a little town of El Chuatan, is their biggest pyramid. The first view looks like an ordinary natural hill. However, only close to the bottom we can see the stairway. San Andres, El Salvador, one of their pyramids, again, looks like a natural hill. If completely clean, it would look like this. Western Honduras, the Mayan city of Copan, the most artistic Mayan city. This is their biggest pyramid. In 1987 until 1989, archaeologists from Honduras and the US were cleaning the trees and the roots, and they discovered that inside the pyramid there was 700 years old temple, which they named Rosalila, due to its rose color. So obviously, in this particular case, the pyramid has a function of protection of something even more important and sacred. The tiny country of Belize is the smallest Mesoamerican country, but still they had 1,000 Mayan cities, towns, and villages, and only 4 of them are open for public today. And every one of them would have several, if not dozens, of pyramids, and the great majority still hidden in the forests. Peru. In southern parts of the country, 50 miles south from the famous Nazca lines, is the archaeological area of Cavaci. 8 years ago, Italian archaeologists told me that they discovered 3 pyramids. 4 years ago, now they are telling me about 34 pyramids. Who built this city of pyramids in southern Peru? Everything they tell us about this complex is wrong. They're saying its age 1800 years. They're saying it was built by the culture named Nazca. Well, there was never a culture by that name. There is a modern Nazca town. Officially, Peruvian history of advanced societies is about 3,000 years. Well, I asked those archaeologists if they found any organic material. They said, yes, we found a female bone. They did radiocarbon dating. The age is 4,500 years. I said, how is it possible to find a bone 4,500 years old inside the structure which is, according to you, only 1,800 years? The problem is, now they would need to change Peruvian history. The pyramids on US soil? Of course not. They never told us anything about it. Well, we have more than 200 of them in the state of Illinois, southwestern corner, just across St. Louis. It is called Cahokia National Park. And they call these mounds. Look at the picture to the right. Obviously a pyramid, 4-sided pyramid with plateau on the top. It's stepped pyramid. This is the biggest one. They call it the Monk's Mound. In the 17th century we have French monks here. Mound is something that you take a dirt and you build something. This is not a mound. We have 4 types of the construction material: sandstone, plates, pebbles, rocks, sand. When they completed the structure, they cut the squares of grass and soil, turn them upside down, and cover all those structures. They oriented them perfectly, east, west, north, south. When I talked to the archaeologists at the site, I asked them, do you do any research, digging, investigation? Are you looking for the underground tunnels, passageways, chambers? They told me no. I said, why? Well, he said, first, it is very hard to get a permission to do that. And secondly, it's very expensive. Expensive? The only world's superpower? With a pyramid with 12% surface larger than the Great Pyramid of Egypt? History-changing project? Something is wrong there. They had $40 million to spend to build a museum at the site and try to prove that half-naked Indians built this complex of 200 pyramids. Indians never built pyramids. It's much older than that, much older than 1,000 years, what they try to tell us on their media, like Wikipedia and similar.
So this is where we start involving the will. So if you're willing to set the intention to love yourself more, then we'll open up to that. Does that sound good? So just take some nice deep breaths. Just breathe nice and comfortable. If you're comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. take some more deep breaths. Take another deep breath. And to the best of your ability, I want you to go into that theater of your mind. How would your life look if you were to love yourself more? See how you'd be taking care of yourself. How that would impact your relationships. Just breathe in those feelings of joy, passion, happiness, whatever it is for you.
Well, we would say there are many upon this planet, and there are some who are defining themselves as this starseed you speak of, and we find it often interesting that human beings must place a definition around themselves as something different or special, because we would say each human being has DNA genetic of higher resonant energy, of multi-dimension. It's all within you, and each of you resonate at this high speed as you have been ascending through a universal process. Now, we want to talk about these individuals you speak of, because there has been a special DNA genetic strand that has been enlightened or engaged in these individuals, especially in the most recent timeline, meaning there has been a switch, in essence, that has been turned on within these individuals where they are receiving telepathic information. Many of them come with a heightened state of remembering the access to telepathic energies. So they're ascending many dimensional planes simultaneously and able to hold that vibration for longer periods of time than many human beings on this planet. So the main difference between what you would call a starseed and what we would call a human being or a light worker who is not of the same DNA genetic strand is the ability to telepathically receive communication, telepathically connect to it, and access multiple planes of dimension and hold that vibration. You see, my friends, that is the key, because as a one human consciousness, it is going to require a large majority of your population to hold a vibration through the heart chakra, as we mentioned earlier. With these star seeds that you speak of, they're able to hold this vibrational energy of multi-dimension and telepathic communication outside of the one human consciousness. And they have, in essence, recently received an upgrade of their DNA genetic strand with the most recent planetary alignment of the past 2 months. And this was most prominent through the shift of poles and the magnetics of the Earth's transient being shifting in a way that connects with this DNA genetic strand.
The indigo children, actually there was a doctor that was doing some aura work and started noticing that these children had an indigo aura. So that's how the indigo children were named, because most of them would appear with like an indigo colored aura. And the indigo child displays a new and unusual pattern of behavior, generally undocumented before. These children are often misdiagnosed with attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And if you trace it back to around the 1970s, mid-1970s, that's really when they started coming up with these disorders, attention deficit disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The good news for me is that they didn't have a lot of the prescription medications back then that they have now, so luckily I wasn't drugged like the children are being drugged today. You can feel that they are here to help. They actually can feel that they are here to help raise the consciousness of the planet. So mainly the indigos were born in the period from 1965 to 1995. Very few of them were coming in 65, then 66, 67, 68. Really, there's really not, there might be a few, but there's really not that many indigos being born today. And that's because the indigos actually that were born in 1965 to 1995 are now birthing the parents of the crystal children, and then the crystals usually birth the rainbows, or you can actually have any one of them, but in general that's the way that it works. So the indigo children, they come into the world with a feeling of royalty, and they often act like it. They have a feeling of deserving to be here and are surprised when others don't share that. Self-worth is a big issue. They often tell the parents who they are. They have difficulty with absolute authority without explanation or choice. And that's why a lot of them suffer in school, or did suffer in school. I mean, they all make it through school. They're usually C and D students, but they're very intelligent. And a lot of the CEOs, the .com guys, the multimillionaires, the inventors, those are the indigo children that if you look back at their schooling, they really, never really did that good in school, but were the ones that innovated new technology that we have today, kind of setting the stage for the crystal children and the rainbow children. They simply will not do certain things. For example, waiting in line is super difficult for them. I mean, they can't stand waiting in line for a long period of time. That's why, a lot of indigos get aggravated at like Disneyland, Disney World, any of those big theme parks where they have to sit in line and wait for a ride, because they just can't understand why they have to wait in line for 2 hours for a 20-second ride. So indigo children are really free-spirited. They get frustrated with systems that are ritually oriented and don't require creative thought, because they're here to kind of change things and innovate things. So they get real frustrated with the rituals of, you have to do it this way, you have to study it this way, and you're going to have a test which is going to be exactly laid out this way on the stuff that you studied. They often are the ones that try to fight the system. They see better ways of doing things, both at home and in school, and that's one of the reasons they kind of get aggravated sometimes at home and at school, because they just don't understand, why do I have to do it that way when I can do it this way? And it makes them seem like system busters. That's why the government doesn't really like indigo children or crystal children or rainbow children for that matter, because they always challenge the system. And usually they do it in a good way because they usually have solutions, and that's why they get aggravated in the standard systematic work at big companies. You know, big companies have that certain systematic, and they feel they can never get anything changed because they go to their boss and say, hey, we could do this better, and then they never hear back from their boss, and then that never gets moved up the chain. So they get real aggravated a lot when they're in that big systematic work. Social outcasts, they seem antisocial unless they are with their own kind. School is often extremely difficult for them socially, unless they can, find somebody that they can be around that's kind of the... It's a lot easier today because there's a lot of crystal children and star children. Back in the 70s and everything, when the indigos were first coming in, it was kind of hard to find another indigo that you could hang out with or somebody that understood you. They will not respond to guilt discipline. Like, wait till your father gets home and finds out what you did. I mean, indigos really have a hard time with discipline anyway. So you kind of have to learn how to discipline, or not necessarily discipline, but figure out what the best way to teach an indigo child is to not do something. Indigo children usually function poorly in conventional schools because of the systematic approach to learning. Indigos have tendencies for drug use and other pasts to help them deal with reality. And if you look at the late 60s, early 70s, a lot of the indigos, nobody understood the indigo children. So they didn't have, when nobody listens to you, then you usually turn to other things. So a lot of the indigos, even though they knew there was nobody that listened to them, so they would a lot of them turned to drugs to try to get out of that reality, to put them in a whole nother realm of mental thought. They often look at adults and teachers as being the dysfunctional ones. They often suffer with reading comprehension in school. They get bored easily. Because most indigos are visual kinesthetic learners. Like an indigo can watch you do something and talk about it like this for an hour and build something, and then they know how to do it. But if you give an indigo child a book and you tell them to read this book and tell me how to do something, they just don't want to do it that way. It's really hard for them to read and comprehend everything because they want to see it and they want to touch it and they want to feel it and they want to learn it that way. Some possess special, unusual, supernatural traits or abilities. Usually most indigos do. They can read people really good. They can feel people's energy really good. I mean, they can just usually even more so when someone is very negative or has a lot of anger built up inside of them. A lot of times indigos want to just walk up to that person and just say, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. Or give them some sort of compassion. So that's pretty much indigo children. So if you're indigo, there's really not really indigo children. I mean, we're pretty much all adults now, but still good to understand because even as adults, you still have the same things that are going on.
Pretty wild, huh? It was in a glass sealed container. I should have got the blow dryer out. I've seen people, they blow dry it, but you know, that is a sealed container. You saw when I took it off, and that's the reason why I wanted to take it off there, so you could see how much room movement there is in here. And as you can see, it's not moving. So, and that is all possible through intention and projection of energy. And it really is it's like the key. It's like once you start developing into meditation, once you start unlocking these abilities, you know, the fact that going outside and seeing that it's possible and seeing that you can effectively connect is going to completely change the game. I mean, it puts you back in the player role. It puts you back in the seat of the car. You know, we effectively give our control over to what we're operating, what we're doing. We hand ourselves over to someone else and say, oh, you drive the car. Instead, now we're coming back into our player role. You know, if this is a matrix and this is a simulation, so we're here to experience and create and be who we are and perfect our self, our oneness, right? We come in to experience, to mold ourselves into what we want, the package that we want over time. And once we come back into this, we can realize that who we really are and what we really are, and we can graduate from this system. We can move into what we want and not be trapped to what's holding us back, what's blocking us from reaching our potential. And so we have to remember that our bodies are these containers, and I'm going to go into this about these systems hold data. They hold information. And I talked a little bit about it outside, but I'm going to go more in depth on it, is that you are putting into the field what you're reflecting inside of yourself. So these vibrations, now we have thought energy, okay? We have neuropeptides, right? We have thought energy, and they produce our reality, but we convectively have this other data. We have this unconscious data in our system. And it comes from lifetimes and lifetimes. We've been cycled in here, and believe it or not, we kind of use these same structures. We die, but the same basic structure is recycled, okay? And it's linked up with data.
Well, my friends, linear or nonlinear is not the question here. We would say souls are evolutionary in essence. So many of you think of yourselves as singular beings, and we understand why. That you were given this soul and this transient body to experience for a certain amount of time, and then your soul is to carry on its life into a next body. But what you often forget is that your soul is multi-dimensional in nature. Meaning it is one with universal energies. So it is not linear in aspect, it is multi-dimensional, we would like to say. So your soul is expressing itself on many dimensional planes, multi aspects of yourself are existing on all of these planes simultaneously. We understand that is difficult for you to grasp onto because oftentimes you are accessing past lives and you feel as if your soul will go to the next life. And it is true, there is a timeline that you can assimilate with that will lead you to an aspect of your soul that is reincarnated in a singular or linear timeline. But there are so many of those timelines that are you. It is unfathomable to the human race, the amount of timelines that you can access, that your soul is currently living in many dimensional planes of energetic space. In the sense of reincarnation, what we want to say is that the linear timeline you speak of is in essence your soul's evolutionary process or assignment that you are connected to now. And we'll give you an example. Many of you have stepped forward to be healers, for example. And perhaps in this lifetime, you are a healer of energy. There's a timeline that you can access of your soul's incarnation as a healer that is being benefited by this current incarnation. And this current incarnation is accessing that timeline of information of you as healer in all of the past, present, and future ways that is benefiting you. This is where we say the fifth dimension will be a benefit to the human race, because in the fifth dimensional energy, you are able to choose the timeline that you accept and tap into. So let us say you are a healer in this fifth dimensional energy, and you choose to tap into that timeline in a full aspect of your reality. You are expanding your knowledge of all of the work that your soul has done in this timeline and how that can benefit your current incarnation. So that is where the soul can be very linear in its incarnation periods, we would say. And we understand that human beings need to use time as an aspect of their reality to break constructs of dimensional space into digestible amounts of information. But the beautiful part of who you are is evolutionary, timeless, and spaceless in essence. You are all of it. You have multiple timelines that are incarnating through your soul that are very easily accessible to you and will be far more easily accessible by you once the fifth dimensional energies are grounded into this physical reality and held.
It's just such an interesting and telling thing, because I don't believe in a physical place called heaven. I don't believe in a physical place called hell. I believe it's our consciousness will take us where we need to be. Has anyone seen the movie What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams? Great, great explanation. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you do. That it is all where we believe we need to be, and we will create in the afterlife what we believe we are entitled to. All right? And even if we go there, we cross over and we are in a poor state, maybe we have committed intentional suicide, that we might experience darkness, because that's what we believe. Or that is a reminiscent of our emotional status, right? And then when we finally determine that it's okay to move on, we do. Things start lightening up, and the color is added, you know, just like in that movie. So whoever wrote the movie really had some good advisors behind them. Then we go to a past life review. Now, that's almost like, you know, we all have our spirit guides. I believe in 5 spirit guides. But then we also have a council of elders who are universal spiritual beings. And you're going to go before this panel and judge yourself. What I could have done better. How I could have improved on this situation. And then also what you did great. What you accomplished, all right? Now, we all come in with karmic lessons, of course. So, did you complete them? Did you come in and complete them? Or did you create karmic lessons while you're here? Which don't we all, right? But have you learned through them? Have you completed them once you started them, right? Or do you continue them in a future life, right? So that's all determined here with this council of elders, right? So that's your past life review. The soul, what the heck did I write? See, I don't even remember. Soul progress, thank you so much. I don't have my readers and my big glasses on. So the soul progress, and that's what that is about. You know, what level are you on? Where do you need to be, right? And then between lives, the Hall of Records is the same thing as the Akashic Records. If you do any work with Edgar Cayce, or if you heard about Edgar Cayce, he works with the Akashic Records. And what they are, honestly, and I've seen this in meditation before I even knew what any of this was about, was this great big monument type thing. Kind of looks like the Lincoln Monument, right, with all the big pillars and stuff. And I went in there in this meditation and I saw rows, I mean like rows upon rows, endless rows of white books. Some were really fat, some were really skinny, you know, just great things. And then you walk down these rows, you're just kind of looking, and you might not know what for. And then the book will either pull out or fall on the floor in front of you. And that's your Akashic Record, which holds everything you've always done, been, said, and everything that you will always do, be, say. All right? So throughout all your incarnations is an ethereal world called the Hall of Records, and that is your Akashic Record in there. Now, back when I was probably about 20, I went to a psychic type class thing. And we were meeting one of our guides, and one of my guides came through and gave me this great big LP, like a record, right? It was about this thick and huge. And I had no idea what an Akashic record was at that time. It wasn't until probably about 5 years later did I learn what Akashic record was. Like, he's telling me that he has my Akashic record. And at the time I'm thinking, what the heck? Like, how great is this, right? But it is great. It was great. So I love it. Now, seed, soul group, soulmate. Okay, so your soul group. If you've read any Brian Weiss and primarily Michael Newton, Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls are great books to read if you want to learn about what happens in between lives. The soul group is his Michael Newton's analogy was, here's a bunch of grapes, right? Everybody in your soul group is in a specific grape. Grapes up here can come down, but grapes down here cannot go up because you're not developed enough if you're in one of these lower grapes, all right? Everyone here is in the same grape. Everyone here is in the same grape, or you wouldn't be here, right? You could be the seeker, you could be the adept, but you're still within that same grape, right? So that's your soul group. And you will see that also in the same families where reincarnation usually happens, from what I've heard, between 40 and 60 years. Unless it's a suicide, and sometimes they try to jump in too fast. That's another story. So anyways, very often you will see grandpa in grandson or great-grandson, that type of thing, or grandpa in two cousins over. Yes? It happened in my family, or my husband's family once, where my husband's uncle passed in World War II, and so he's like 22 years of age. Just maybe about 15 years ago, we went to a relative's wedding in Canada, and we hadn't seen him since he was a teenager, and he was spitting image. I mean, exactly. It was kind of weird and creepy. But so we definitely believe that this was, coming back. And I have done readings for people. I'm talking to Grandpa, and he says he is the great-grandson. How is that possible? I know. That's what I did too. It's like, what the heck? How is that possible? It is possible because we don't take all our soul with us. We're still connected to God, right? So there has to be something in between here and here that still communicates, right? Because we've had many lives, so that consciousness should be within that soul. And what I've learned is, if you take from the shoulder to the fingertips as the amount of the soul, we might incarnate with the pinky worth. So the greater of your being is on the other side, and that's how that's possible. Soulmate. And here's one that really kind of ticks people off because I kind of throw them for a loop. Everyone here is also a soulmate. Your soulmate doesn't necessarily the one that you married, the love of my life. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. Right? We have many soulmates. If you were on the panel night before last, that's one of the things I had mentioned, that is very possible to have that we have many soulmates. Who do we consider that one special person? Is called our twin flame.
But let's talk numerology for a moment. A lot of times you'll see a couple where they're high school sweethearts or they've been together for a long time, they love each other, and you can't imagine why they shouldn't be together. But they get married, and a year later they can't stand each other and they get divorced soon after. And, well, what changed? Anybody want to answer that? What changed in that relationship? What's that? Exactly. The woman changed her name, and the name changed the dynamics of the relationship. She's no longer the same person that she was before the marriage. Have you ever seen a couple where the woman got married and suddenly her personality was totally different, and you either liked her better or you didn't? Yeah. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I see marriages where the relationship actually becomes stronger because of it. Other times but a lot of times it becomes weaker. And if you don't know that going into it, then you're stepping into a situation that could blow up in your face. And so why bother getting married if you're just going to get divorced anyway, right? I've had a lot of women come to me for consultations and who've been married multiple times, and I'll look over each one of their marriage names and I'll say, okay, this marriage was like this, and this marriage was like this, and this marriage was like this. and it's always right. Just based on the name change, you can tell the dynamics of each relationship. Because you don't realize how much you will change when your name changes. I wasn't always Ethann Fox. I changed it on purpose for a particular reason. But if you don't know what that reason is and you just randomly change the name because you got married and it's just the thing to do because everybody else does it, you don't realize the impact that's going to have. It may be a good impact, but it may also be a bad impact. And that's why a lot of relationships become turbulent after marriage, even though the couple has been together for a long time and everything is fine. Because the woman changed, and because she changed, the whole dynamics of the relationship changed. And so now the way the two interact is not the same. So that's a really critical factor.
I'm blessed with a beautiful wife that supports me completely. We're kind of on the mission together. She does a lot of work behind the scenes that she never gets any credit for. But we do this together, and it's a result of her, chiefly, her support and encouragement that I'm able to do what I do. You know, we went off this weekend. I missed my boy's first baseball game yesterday, the season opener, and I was all bummed out Friday night. You know, I wish I didn't have to miss this game. She goes, "You go do what you got to do because, you know, you're helping save the world and waking people up." And she just always encourages me and makes me feel better about, you know, having to miss this doubleheader yesterday. He pitched 4 innings and did great, by the way. But you know, she's a big supporter. And I think that is essential. You got to have a family that supports you. My kids support me. You know, I was talking to my boy last night and he said, "I'm just so glad you're doing what you're doing. And I'm not upset that you missed my game and all that." So you need a family that supports you. I agree that we are disconnected. You know, you walk into a restaurant sometimes and it seems like everybody's looking down at their little thing, you know, doing whatever they're doing, texting or whatever. Sometimes I wish I had like a little mini EMP that I could do an electromagnetic pulse and just kill all the cell phones and just watch their reaction. You'd be like, you know, they wouldn't even know how to talk. They would just sit there probably in silence, not even, because people don't know how to talk anymore. You know, you have people that are really bold on the internet and they'll say things that they would never say in person. You know, we have a huge following on Facebook and on Twitter and all this, and we get messages from people that are so rude and just so accusatory and condescending sometimes. I mean, it doesn't really bother me. My wife gets really mad because a lot of times they're slandering me. And so she gets really mad to me. I'm just like, whatever, just delete it. But she's like, "Oh, I wish I could just," you know. But you know, but they wouldn't do that to my face. You know, they'll do it from the privacy of their own home or their little handheld device wherever they happen to be. But they wouldn't do it to your face. So you have this disconnect where people no longer, you know. I mean, I was reading something a couple weeks ago about you know, employers are now firing people via email instead of calling them in their office. They'll send them an email and say, "You've been terminated." I'm like, really? You don't even have the guts to just call the person in your office and look them face to face and say, "Hey, you know, you've been doing a really crappy job. You're out of here." They've sent them an email. You know, and so we really are in a disconnected society. Well, one of the things that we do with our kids is, you know, we limit their time on their devices, not for social reasons also, but also for EMF reasons too. You know, we let them get on and check whatever. My boy likes to check sports and stuff, but then we don't let them. They don't sit all day. They don't go out with them in public. We put them away. We make them go outside and play. You know, we got 14 acres in Tennessee, and they go out and they'll ride horses, they'll play baseball, basketball, football, play in the creek, get muddy, throw mud at each other. I don't care. But they're outside playing. That's what we did as a kid. You know, when I was going through school, we didn't have, the only electronic that I knew of was the little Mattel electronics. It was a football game, and it had like a little dot was a football player. And then the defense was 4 other dots, and you tried to get this dot through the 4 other dots, and that was the only electronic that anybody had. And I look at it now, and you got these virtual reality games and stuff. It's like you're inside the game. It's really crazy. It's hard being a kid today because kids should be out playing and just getting into mischief and all that stuff, and they're on these little devices living in alternate worlds. So, you know, one of the things that we do as a family is try to encourage the kids just go outside and play. We don't have to encourage them. That's what they're always doing. It's like, we have to keep them inside. Like, "Mommy, where's Tabitha?" "Oh, she's out riding a horse." "Get her in here. It's time for her to do her spelling or whatever." So they're always out there playing, you know, and so that's good for kids. That's what they should be doing. And I think we should do that too. It's not just kids. You know, you walk into a restaurant and the adults are doing that too. The adults are sitting at the table. You know, you got a guy on a date, his first date with his girl, and he's texting somebody else. Really? You know, get off your device, pull the battery out, turn it off, and just talk to somebody. I think that's important.
I've had a very consistent message from my guides, and it's very interesting because, you know, we have to think of everything in terms of energy. And when we see all these outer things going on in the world, what my guides have said is, light workers are going to go through a very difficult period in the next couple years because they're not going to see with their eyes in the outer world the things they wish to be reflected or changed. But it's actually a good sign, because when people awaken to all of the things in the world that we don't like to see, there's a level of anger that's expressed with that realization. And that anger is an energy. And that energy goes out into the world and has to have a vibrational match. So we're going to see some of these things increase in terms of, some of the things we don't want to see happen, but it's actually a good sign, because it means more people are awakening, more people are kind of releasing that anger, and that's going to be a period we're going to be seeing over the next couple years. But I think there's a lot of amazing things going on in the world personally, and it's a free will choice. You can choose to focus your attention on the things that are going great in the world or the things that are going on in the media. And even the alternative media these days seem to be focusing on a lot of the negatives when there's so many incredible things happening. We're in a very transient state right now. My guides are saying, moving from a fourth dimensional to a fifth dimensional reality. And we're having to do a lot of integrating of our emotional, spiritual, and physical bodies in order for that integration to take place, because we're moving towards a one consciousness. And there's a lot of positives that come with that, because when that happens, that's when we see all the new technologies come in. That's where we ground in these energies. That's when everything starts to hold and stick. And the institutions and the financial system and all of that has to also vibrationally fall in line with that new dimension, that new dimensional reality that we're holding. So I think there's a lot of positives coming, no question.
So music is universal, and what's happening is the younger generations, even though many want to just go and party, and there are many musical events where they go out and get drunk or just escape, what's happened is I've witnessed a rebound where there are a number of spiritual events happening, and alternative spirituality and events that embrace consciousness. And there's thousands and tens of thousands of kids that are going to these now. For example, I'm blessed to be playing at the Electric Forest Festival. It's 40,000 kids that are there. And yes, there will be parties and alcohol and drugs and such, but there also will be meditation. There will be yoga. There will be workshops on, Native American shamanism and things like that. And it makes me optimistic for the future. So I don't listen to the mainstream news or watch TV, and I've been very blessed to find myself surrounded by these things happening. So it's not just here. This is awesome and special and needed, and there's also more going on, and it's exciting to me that it's happening with young kids now too, that are getting exposed to new ideas.
She said that she was talking about the life cycles of organisms, and so she talked about the butterfly's life cycle, and that she brought up something in this discussion that was really interesting and unique regarding evolution. She said that when the organism is in its larvae stage, which is its consumptive stage, its primary directive is consume, and it doesn't really look back at the path of destruction it's left in its wake. And then, after it reaches a certain end of that stage and a certain consumptive, threshold, it then starts to regurgitate what it took in, and it takes this material and wraps itself up. So it's kind of like a collective memory of what it took in. It's starting in its first stage of coming back out. And then what happens is that the organism, then the larvae, once it is in what we call the pupa stage, all of its cellular structure breaks down into kind of a fluid. And then what happens is that after this is in this stage, the cells of the mature phase start to show up. They start to pop up.
then a very curious thing happens. The cells, the immune cells of the immature phase start to attack the cells of the mature phase as if it's something that it's afraid of, it's afraid of change, and it doesn't want change. And so there's a battle that goes on inside of this organism between that which is trying to hold it back in the old and that which is trying to fly out of it in the new. And of course, then I don't recall whether she said this, but it was my thinking on it, is that evolution has to have it stacked in favor of the new. If the old were to succeed in destroying the cells of the newly emerging butterfly, evolution would not go forward. So evolution is stacked in favor of the mature organism overcoming that which is trying to hold it back. And then when you look further, you say, why was the immune cells of the larvae trying to hold back the mature phase? You know why? It's there intentionally to make the mature phase more dedicated, more determined to succeed. And so what we face, we come karmically into this place that has a dualistic energy between what we call the yin and yang. I have a lot of faith after going through a lot of turmoil and wondering if we're going to make it. I have a lot of faith that the forward movement of evolution is inevitable. And that which is there trying to retain, trying to hold back in the old, the violence, whatever it might be, the war, whatever it is, the pollution, is only there to prod us to work harder, to make sure that evolution goes forward. But I believe we have the cards stacked in our favor.
Cymatics is the science of making sound and vibration visible. And if you've ever seen Dr. Yenny's footage of his experiments, the sand vibrating on the plate with a particular geometric shape is disturbed when the amplitude is amped up. And when we have this chaos phase, it continues in chaos until it really gets to this new level of being, which the doctor just so beautifully described. But we can see this visibly in the science of cymatics, of how it goes through this chaos, and then this beautiful geometric pattern in its new form does emerge. And I believe, indeed, we're headed that way as well.
For the last 8,000 years, we've been living in a materialistic world based on physical senses, elites, majority, manipulation. Everything we do is wrong. Energy, the way we get it through the coal, dirt industry, oil and gas, limited sources. Educational system, they keep us programmed the way they want. But the previous cycle, the places that I have been investigating, from Yonaguni on the bottom of Pacific, Göbekli Tepe, eastern Turkey, pyramids in Egypt, Bosnia, Mexico, China, Peru, Bolivia, Canary Islands, Mauritius, Indonesia, they all belong to the previous cycle, 12,000 plus years. We can see that those societies, they did live in harmony with the planet, balance between spiritual and physical. They would move things differently, bigger weights, a lot to learn from them. I've been running for 10 years now the most active archaeological site in the world, the Bosnian Pyramid Project. Every year, 500-600 volunteers from 6 continents, 50 countries come to Bosnia, work with us, bringing a lot of interesting skills. And we've realized that archaeology does not belong to the archaeologists exclusively. It has to be interdisciplinary scientific project. We've learned that the ancients knew when they were building pyramids, not as the tombs, but the most complex energy machines, they knew how to manipulate with the frequencies. We applied scientific instruments. We measured electromagnetism, energy beam going through the top of the pyramid, ultrasound, infrasound, Schumann resonance. They knew the best frequencies for us and for society. They knew the best frequency for the communication, because the pyramids were the most powerful communication devices. They were able to communicate between the planets, teleportation, healing aspects. For example, they knew that the best frequency for the levitation is 28 kilohertz frequency of the ultrasound. And I'll be talking about that. So a lot to learn from the past. Is there a chance for us? You asked if we are heading in the wrong directions. Actually, we've been in the wrong directions for 8,000 years. Now it's still majority that living in a basically wrong world. We are minority. First, we change ourselves. The change comes from within. We change all around us. And then there is a chance. I'm hoping with the projects like ours, which is basically the most open project in archaeology, there is a chance.
We've been very pleased to speak with all of you through this collective energetic assembly of beings. And as light workers, we wish for you to understand that the work and the assignments that you have accepted in this time are beautiful ones indeed. And as you have accepted the new energies, we are pleased to assist you as you are doing your work in this world. And as we know that the current ascension timeline has been skewed upon your planet, and there are many who know that the visions of the future seem as if they are not falling in line with your wishes, we ask you to be patient and firm in knowing that the vibration that you currently hold is what is bringing that reality to this planet now. And the vision that you hold and the opening of your heart chakra to the resonant energy of another is how you begin to form that one consciousness that brings in this new reality. You, my friends, are creating that as a one being already through your acceptance of your soul's light work. And we are very pleased that you have done so.
I hope you enjoyed this little glimpse into our previous expos and that you'll join us for our upcoming Awake and Empowered Expo in March of 2016 at the Westin Book Cadillac in downtown Detroit, Michigan in the United States. It's an experience that will surely transform your life in ways that you really can't get from the video itself. I also want to let you know that by supporting our events, you not only transform yourself, but you help us to make a difference and change the world through our various programs and activities, and even shows such as this one that you're watching right now. So I hope you'll join me at that event, and join me next week for another episode of Awake and Empowered TV, where we speak with the incredible individuals who are standing on the leading edge and changing the world.